Hi, and here we go. I will take my time going through this tutorial so it'll be easy to follow. This tutorial will concentrate on using Megui one-click coding, and you'll need to download and install a couple of programs to use this. And the first one being ABI Synth 258. I'll provide links to both of these programs later. And Megui. I have them both installed, so we'll just come over here and I'll open up Megui. And it's going to ask if you want to do an update. I recommend saying no at this time. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to options and down to settings. And default priority, normally this comes set to low. I usually bump mine up to normal. If you have a slower CPU, you might want to consider leaving it at low or somewhere below normal. Then down here to default languages, you select the language you want. I'm English, of course, so I'm going to select English for both of these. Then modify custom value sizes and come over to the drop down and select custom size. You can add as many as you want here for easy selection later, but for now we're just going to add the one. And we're working in gigabyte size files, so we'll select gigabyte and change this to 3 because we want our finished product to be 3 gigabytes. And press OK on that. Your default output directory, you can create one wherever you want to. For me, in C, I've made one already, and it's called Movies Done, and I'll select that. So when my movie's done, that's where the finished product will go to. Then on to extra configuration. I don't think there's anything in here that I want to change. Then external program configuration. And the important one here is FFMS thread count. By default, it comes set to 1. I bump this down to 0, and it makes my encoding time about 100% faster. Not all CPUs can handle it. And if you can't use 0, just set it back to 1. Your encoding time will increase substantially though. And that's that for there. We'll just save that. And file format. I use MKV, so I'm going to select MKV. Encoder settings comes by default times 264 scratch pad. And we'll come over here to config because we want to make our own. Click on that. And first thing will come down here, show advanced settings. Click on that because we'll need to see everything. And we want to come down here, click new. And we'll give this preset a name, and I'll use QMax. You can use whatever you wish. Click OK. And up here on constant quality, we'll drop that down. And I use 2 pass second passed. Click on that. And I set the bit rate at around 3200. And the only reason I do this is if by chance when you're encoding and you have power outage or your computer shuts off or whatever, you can start again, and by default it won't go any less than 3200 kbs for your bit rate. Other than that, you will have to start all over from scratch, so this will save you probably an hour or 2 of work if that ever does happen, even though your file size might be slightly smaller or slightly bigger. Preset medium, leave that where it's at. tuning, come up here and select film, ABC profile. I leave mine at high profile, and you should too. There is other selections there, but we'll use high profile. An ABC level, I change that to 4.1. And then over here to frame rate, and this by default is usually set to 0 for both of these. You can go up to +2 for both of them or down to -2 for both of them. I recommend just leaving it at -1, and you'll probably have good results with that. And then over here to number of reference frames, I want to bump that up to 8. You can go higher or lower. It affects the quality somewhat. 8 seems to be a decent number, and so we'll stick with that. And that's it for that one. Now come over to rate control, and frames for look ahead, I bumped that up to 50. BBV buffer size and bit rate, usually by default it comes set to 0, and it should work there, but sometimes you will get an error, and you may have to enter a number such as 78,125 or 62,500, which are good, but you can find information on that on Google search. Other than that, that's it for that one. Then over here to analysis. In the ME range, I'm going to bump that up to 24. You can go higher, you can go lower. It affects the quality somewhat. 24 is a good balance. ME algorithm. And I change that to multi-hex. And subpixel refinement, you can leave that on 7. It's probably decent quality. I usually bump mine up to 8. I don't go any higher than 8 because 9 and 10 is ridiculous slow on the encode time. It takes forever, and the end results are negligible. Now down to trellis, and we'll change that to 2 hours. No fast p-skip. Make sure that that's ticked. Then up to macro blocks. I leave that set as default. You can select all if you wish. I don't see a difference. I really don't know what P4 by 4 does even. And then over to miscellaneous. And the color primaries and transfers and color matrix, I set all 3 of those to BT709. And that's it there. Then we just hit the update. Press OK. And you'll see it pops our encoder settings, pops up Qmax over here, the one we just made, and it'll always pop up to that. You can change the presets in there anytime you want to something else and just save them again. Okay, so now on to the audio section. We'll come down here to the drop down arrow and select apt and AC3 DVD good. I'll come over here to config, and everything looks fine here the way I want it. You can change the bit rate to whatever you choose. I like 448, but you can choose whatever you wish in there. I don't see much difference between 448 and 640 myself. Other people might, so we'll go with that. And just update that. Click OK. Then on down to one click. I'll click on that. And make sure that our show advanced settings is on. And under the drop down on one-click profile, we're just going to use the scratch pad, the default one. I come over here to config, and this is where we'll set up our resolution. Um, First, we'll change the 720 to 1280p because we are making a 720p recode. Untick the auto crop, we don't need that, and also untick automatic deinterlacing. Then onto audio. Drop down arrow on encoder, and we'll select DVD good again, Apton. Leave all the rest the same as it is. Then onto output, and we want that to be MKV. And the file size, we've already created that, so we'll just click 3 GB. You can change this to whatever you want anytime before you start the recode. Then on over to language, and of course I'm in English, so I'll see if I can find English in here. And we'll just hit the double arrow and put that in, and the same as this one here. And add that one. And other. There's nothing in here that we want to change besides maybe you're putting in your default output directory. I created one under C drive and I just called it movies done. We'll just select that. That's where the output will go. Then we'll just hit update to save that. And press OK. Then we'll come up here to input and select our video we want to use. Select the file. And mine is on the desktop over here, Atlas Shark, that's the one we're working on. So I'll just come over here and click desktop. Yours could be anywhere. And we'll just click on that to add it. And it puts all the information in. If there were subtitles, they would be shown here, but this movie doesn't have them. You can add them anytime later with MKV merge if you want. And I'll over here to advanced, just to double check everything is set the way we want it. And everything looks good. And that's about all there is to it. You come down here, press go, and it will start the recode. And it's extracting the tracks. This will take anywhere from 4 minutes to 1 minute, depending on the size of the video we're starting with. So I'm going to pause that here while it runs through that. And we're back again. It's almost finished. And it'll continue on to creating the FFMS index. And this normally takes 3 to 4 minutes also, depending on the video size. This is in memory for me, so it won't take quite that long, so I'll just hang in here and wait. Now it'll continue on to processing the audio, and this will probably take about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So I'm going to pause it here again while it runs through that. Okay, the audio is just about done here, and it'll continue on to encoding the video the first pass. You can set your priority here to whatever you want. If you're doing something else, you might want to set it to low or below normal. I just keep mine on normal for the most part. And your processing rate will vary depending on your CPU you have and how many cores. I sort of average around 55 to 75 depending on the video I'm recoding. And this can take anywhere from an hour to whatever, depending on your machine. So I'm going to pause that here because I'm not going to wait 34 minutes for this part to finish. And once it's done this part, it'll skip on to the final second pass, which will be considerably slower. You can expect the frame rate to drop down to 6 to 16. I average between 12 and 17 on mine on the second pass here. And that takes about 2 to 3 hours minimum. And you can come up over to the queue here, and it'll give you an idea of what's going on and the frame rates per second, what it takes each process to run at. And then over here to log, we can see that the first pass here, the bit rate is 3980, and the second pass will be the same also. It'll say pass 2 here. And that's about all there is to it. Just a matter of being patient and waiting. I hope you enjoyed this video.